I just think of the two generations before me managed money very differently than I'm managing it now because we've evolved.
I want to give a quick shout out to my podcast manager, Abby. If you're in need of help in launching and managing your own show, please reach out to her at productions@abbygwaki.com. I'll put her details in the show notes. She really is the best, and I love her. Hello, and welcome back to the Quiet Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Camilla, and I am super excited to have a new guest for you today to join us on the podcast. So, Christine Walsh, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Camilla, for having me. I'm excited to be here as well.
Yeah, me too. I always love just getting together and having these conversations with other women about money and business and, all the things that we don't normally talk about as women, but these are important things for us to talk about. So, Christine, why don't you give our listener an idea of your journey? Like, what is your business today and how did you get there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. It's been a journey for sure, as I'm sure many of our listeners, including yourself, have been with money. I grew up in New York City, so every so often you may hear a little New Yorkies come in, now live out in Colorado, and I haven't either lost it or gained it, I don't know, in between. But when I grew up in New York City, I was born and raised there. My parents were born and raised there, and when they were raising us, me and my brother, said, go to business school, get your business degree, work in finance, work down on Wall Street. And I remember telling my mom around that time of deciding where to go to school that I really wanted to go to the Fashion Institute of Technology. I was probably like 17 or so. And she's like, Christine, go to business school and make all the money you want, and then you can buy all the clothes you want. And so off I marched to business school and studied accounting and finance. So my background is financial. I did work down in Wall Street and then moved up to Midtown for about 12 years. I did internships. I did everything. I moved up the corporate ladder within an investment banking house. And I was working on the institutional side of portfolio management and investing. So doing a lot of trading and analyzing portfolios and analyzing big businesses for bigger institutional clients. And 9/11, I was in my late 20s when 9/11 happened. And me growing up in New York City, having that city at my beck and call, thinking I could run the city. At that point, I was like, wow, this really had a big impact on me. New York City's not everything. Where else can I travel to? It really brought me grounded into there's other places to explore beyond my family and growing up there and the city, as much as it's big and vast and everything like that. And there's so much available. It was close to me. And I wasn't concerned about the safety of it after 9/11 as much as just like I wanted to broaden my horizon. So I moved out to Colorado when I was 31 and have been out here for 18 years. And when I moved out here, all the financial stuff went out the window. I actually became a bartender for about a year and a half. And a great way to meet people in a new town. I'll tell you that much. I don't know if it's the right people you want to be meeting, but nonetheless, a way to get connected. And really a lot of my financial grounding, whether it was saving, I was just trying to make it through. So a lot of my financial groundedness of it went away. With the '08 housing crisis, I found myself without a job, without a home. I lost it to foreclosure. I had 2 properties at the time, and I had a really crappy boyfriend at the time. So my support network was not there, and I was 2,000 miles away from my family. So I really went into this depressed state of, I'm supposed to be the money expert, and here things are falling apart, which I think of just the myriad amount of people who went through that time, '08, '09, '10, of what went on with the housing crisis. And, me supposed to be knowing what I was doing and still falling apart. So it was in that moment, within those years that I decided, Christine, there's got to be a better way. I could have all the financial book smarts, but if I don't get my head on straight about this, the 2 things aren't gonna come
Yeah.
together. There's only so much strategy I can throw at something, but I had something internal. So the business that I have today is built on blending the practical, tactical sides of money. So understanding what money's coming in, what money's going out, understanding investing, understanding saving, contributing, and understanding our own energy, our own mindset around money too, and those 2 things together.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think that money is just numbers,
Yeah,
but oh man, there's so much psychology around
yeah,
money too that
yeah,
the way we approach it. I mean, there's a really great book called The Psychology of Money, which
yeah.
is just phenomenal. And it talks about how we interact with money, how we think about money, because our thoughts are shaped by money. And so I feel like the mindset piece is actually more important than the numbers. Sure, I can look at my P&L statement for my business and those numbers can tell me something. But if I'm waking up in the middle of the night freaking out because I think I don't have enough money to pay payroll coming up, then that's a whole different thing that's happening. It's super interesting. In your experience, I guess, what has been the biggest psychological hurdle for people when they're facing money challenges or not even money challenges, just money in general?
It's scarcity, it kind of built into the fabric of us to be in fear around money, not having role models, particularly to look up to, or older role models. I just think of the 2 generations before me managed money very differently than I'm managing it now because we've evolved.
Yeah.
Financial awareness and acumen and all of that has evolved, yet we're still using thoughts and belief systems that were from generations before us that went through a Great Depression. The dynamics of finances has changed. And so, us as humans just on this planet, understanding that we move with that and we have the opportunity to
Yeah.
expand. So, scarcity really comes into play. I mean, I saw it in myself as I was going through my own financial journey and moving out through the other side. But as I'm talking to women and clients and just anyone who will listen about the idea of how can we look at money differently and grow with it. I mean, money is infinite. There is expansion around it. And I think what you bring to the podcast here and what you speak to around building wealth and investing and capitalizing on ways that we can grow money through businesses, perhaps through real estate, through et cetera, allows us to see that money build on itself. I always like to say, this isn't just about making money. This is actually making money work for us.
I love that.
As women, I think we have a really untapped force within us. The name of your podcast, Quiet Wealth. There's a quiet internal knowing. I think that we haven't, as women, and I'm painting a broad brush, haven't given ourselves enough creed to say, I got something in me that I know can help me,
Mhm.
whether it's tuition or sharpening that part, because we still relied so much on logic, which is a very important part of finances. And I think there's an intuitive and an emotional aspect of it that can
Mhm.
widen the perspective and bring us out of scarcity into a more balanced approach to money.
As you were talking about that scarcity mindset thing, my family on Saturday mornings, we like to have a slow morning and I get up and I'll turn on a movie or whatever and we'll watch a movie while we make a big breakfast and the kids kind of wake up to the movie. But the movie we had on last Saturday was The Croods. So if you remember that one, it's an animated one, sorry Nicolas Cage, but it's about a caveman family. And the
Yes.
dad, his mindset is around keeping the family safe. And he's always saying, new things are bad. New things are bad. Don't do anything new. Like you can't get out there, do anything new. And his teenage daughter, of course, it's the teenage daughter, is pushing back against him, saying, Dad, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad. And the whole interesting thing is that the whole family had to evolve and ended up having to follow her because the way that they were living and their mindset that they had worked for them for a time, but wasn't going to work anymore. They had to
Mm.
evolve and follow her intuition about fire not being bad and about it's okay to get out of the cave and do all of this. And so it's pretty powerful how we do have that intuition. I do have that way to be able to lead our families or lead ourselves or lead our communities in ways of money. And I think historically, like I think about my parents and my grandparents, money was something the men did. It was
Yeah.
very much a man's duty.
Yeah.
And men stepped up and took that duty on because it was expected of them to do that. And then women stepped up and took on the duties that were expected of them. And now we're in this melding. I feel like things are not so cut and dry anymore. It's not like men do this, women do this, like it was. And so now we're kind of in that messy middle where we're trying to navigate and figure out, well, who does do what? And we're learning that all of us as human beings can care for children and
Mm,
we all can run investment strategy. It's something that we all can do. Now, if we want to choose one
uh,
and specialize in one, great, all more power to you. But don't discount it just because the fact that I'm a woman, I don't know, like that's something men do.
mm,
It's something that we could absolutely step up to the plate and
yeah.
learn and do. It's super interesting because the data shows that when women invest, we actually do better. It's a couple of percentage points. It's not like a ton. It's not like we
Yeah.
like totally
Yeah.
destroy the men in our investment decisions.
Yeah.
But when we invest, we do better. And I think some of that can be attributed to our conservative nature. And also, we think about things as a collective. Like, we're not just looking at investing for a dollar to bring back a dollar. We want investing to be more. And this is where I get into like impact investing because
I
I want
love
my
it.
investments to affect the communities around them. Of course, I want a dollar back. It's important to build wealth so my kids don't have to take care of me for forever and ever, so I can be self sufficient for my entire life. But also, I want my dollar to do good in the world. And I think this is where we're like coming full circle and we're really pushing more money into the economy that's going to do more impact investing type rather than just simply hard dollar
Yeah.
investing. Have
You're
you seen
giving
that
me
too?
you're giving me the chills. You're giving me the chills because I just feel of a word that I use often that my circle will know off is generative. And that is the equivalent of the ripple effect or the win-win-win factor. The win-win-win factor is in the example, kind of in that impact investing, it's you winning and you receiving the investment returns, but then the win for the greater collective of that going out into the communities or to through that type of investing that grows that. And then the triple win of just like how that flows through our whole ecosystem here. There's intentionality around that. That is what I love about what we can do as men, women, however we want to think about it, move forward with money is I often say that we are stewards of
Mhm.
the currency that
Yeah.
comes in to us. And how do we hold it and usher it back out into the world, whether that's at the grocery store where I know so many of us spend a lot of money these days,
Yes, a lot.
uh, or it's through investing, or it's through how you're, what's important to you to spend it on, etc. I just think of that stewardship of where we hold money differently. And it's not from a place of honoring it or bowing to it as much as like it's flowing through me and it's flowing back out and then it's coming back.
Right.
That is for me, that was the turning point of when I said there's got to be a better way. Because I did when I was in my financial trauma, having my moments years ago. A friend of mine was like, Christine, you need to talk to someone about, what's going on. You're so fearful. I was like, well, I just have had the eviction notice on my door.
Oh, yeah.
Deployment. This doesn't really super feel great. And I was closed down. Like I didn't know where to go. So I went to a financial advisor and he looked at me and he said, well, Christine, I can't help you. There's too much going on here.
Oh,
And what I wanted was that,
really?
yeah, he didn't know where to start because his emotional intelligence, and nothing to say bad about him as a character, the human of him, but his emotional intelligence around finances wasn't available either. So
Hmm.
here I got down from that meeting. I remember getting into my car and just grabbing my steering wheel and like dropping my head and saying, okay, there's
Oh,
got to be a better way. And that's where that turning point of we can't all be in fear about money all the time. Why does that have such a grip on me? And so it was when I was doing the deeper dive psychological work, emotional work, that I had a reconcilement of, okay, these are my feelings about money. This is what my parents taught me about money. This is what I heard in society. This is what I've been told. When do I get to take my power back and redefine how I want to associate
Mhm.
with money? I have a little exercise, or I have a question actually that I ask, and I'll ask it here, is if money was a person in your life and you were in relationship with that person, how might you describe it? And
Oh, yeah.
for many of us,
That's a great. I love the personification of the money. What would that person be to you? Would it be someone that you enjoyed having around? Would it be someone who was generous and loving, or is it somebody that you're mad at and you don't ever want to see because you're like, I don't like you. I
yeah,
don't like you. You
yeah,
always bring a lot of grief to my life. That's
yeah,
really interesting. I love that thought. I'm going to have to think through that because how would I define money? The scarcity mindset has been something that I've been very open on my podcast, has been a real struggle for me. And I'm still not like there 100%. But one of the things, the tips that has helped me a lot that I read was be grateful for money when it comes in. Whenever you get a paycheck or whenever in your business, today I just got paid, one of my invoices got paid on one of our invoices. Say it out loud. I'm so glad that you came in to the money. And here's the thing that scarcity mindset doesn't like to do is when money goes out,
yeah,
also say a
yeah,
little prayer of gratitude for it.
yeah,
I am so glad that you were able to provide me with this cute pair of pants.
yeah,
Thank you so much
yeah.
for that. Right. That's the part that's really hard for us scarcity hoarders, money hoarder people.
Yeah,
We don't like it when the money goes out and we see our
yeah,
bank account goes down. We're like, oh, but money provides so many great experiences and things for us. And really, it's just that tool, right? So it flows
right.
in, flows out. And that's just
Yeah.
like you breathing. You breathe in, you breathe out, right? The air doesn't have to stay inside of
Mm,
you for you to enjoy the
mm,
day. I
yeah,
wanted to go back to financial trauma for a minute because
mhm,
I love that you brought this up. I think all of us have financial trauma in our past. Once you get into your 40s and 50s, if you look back on your life, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some financial trauma, whether it be a time when you lost a job and suddenly you guys had no income for 6 months and you got back down to your last penny. I'm describing ourselves because right after the birth of my
mm,
fifth child, my husband got laid off, couldn't find a job for like 6 months. We literally got down to our last penny. We had to ask his dad for $500 to help us get by for that month.
mm,
And then a job came up and we were able to crawl out of that. But that was very scary with five little children and just trying to get through that. But then also, that was not like a mistake. Sometimes our financial trauma just happens to us. It's like life happens, right? With the layoff, it's not like he did anything wrong and got fired for it.
yeah,
But sometimes we do make mistakes with our money. And I like to classify them not necessarily as mistakes, but as learning experiences and
yeah,
learning opportunities. Because was it a mistake for me to invest in the specific investment where I lost all my money, for example? Was that a mistake? Well, some people could classify that as a mistake. One of the things we have to do is just what's the learning opportunity here? And my sister does this really well. She was like, I always try to look at it as what's the learning opportunity for me
mm,
here? And what is something that could be positive about this? So the money that I just lost in this investment, actually, I can like claim that on my taxes as a capital loss. And that capital loss could offset future capital gains. So I actually probably won't be so bad off in the end. But you
yeah.
don't know that when you're so emotional
No,
about
no,
losing money, right? Or
yeah,
losing your home in your case. You
yeah,
you don't understand all of that and you can't really think logically because you're stuck in your brain about it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
tell me about financial trauma. Do you help clients with financial trauma?
Definitely agree with you as you share, your story and through this, because I think it is something that it gets just as trauma in general gets embedded in our bodies. It's something that the opportunity for us to allow that to come out can do wonders for us as we look at our money and our financial situation. So I speak to it often because there's so much story around it that is within each of us around whatever's happened, we don't know whether it was watching our uncle lose all his money in an investment decision or a business or something like that, or it's something where, I got laid off and then lost my job and lost my home. And those are events that are traumatic and they get embedded in us. So I like to use the body just as a sense of like, where is that show up for everyone and really bring it back? Because what can happen with money is we get up in the head. We're very, and totally normal. I'm there too. It's the work. And
Happens
it's
with
like,
everything.
how can we bring it down into, just where does that feel? How can we breathe through that? I love bringing a lot of somatics work into the program around money. And then it opens up for some receptivity of, all right, we have an issue in front of us, whether it's something seemingly looks like a mistake or something like that. How can we think through this a little bit more thoroughly and with groundedness? And there's so many stories. I always say everybody's has a money story. I just appreciate even being here, being able to share those stories and giving people the opportunity to be witnessed in their story with no shame or judgment and allow us to open up to what is the financial potential that we have, whether that's going for the big money or having the funds to come in to support your family in the day to day, wherever it is in the expanse of that. And it's important to have these conversations as women because what has happened in the past or what we were shown or experience we have is in the past. What can we do at the present moment?
Mhm. And you bring up the shame too. And I think, shame is something that we assign ourselves, right? And we
Mm,
can choose to keep that around or we can choose to let it go. And I always think of the story of so when I was raising my little kids. I think when you have littles and you look around at the other moms and like this mom over here is doing crafts with her kids all the time. And this mom over here is taking them to the park every day. And you just get caught up in this comparison mode and after a couple of years of beating myself up that I'm a bad mom, I came across a cartoon that was so cute. And it was a cartoon of a mama holding a kid's hand. And, the mom has like 10 different thought bubbles around her. And all the thought bubbles are like, oh, I'm doing so bad. I'm so bad at this. Or like, I'm just not very pretty. And I wish I could be better at all of these things. Right. And the little kid has one thought bubble. And the thought bubble says, I love her so much. I was like, oh, that is so cute. So I came across that when I was a young mama. And I
mm,
was very young mama. Like I had my first baby when I was 22. Because I think in your 20s, you're still trying to figure out who you are. And so for me, I'm trying to figure that out while having 5 kids. I saw that and it just hit me like a ton of bricks that my kids love me for who I am. And I'm the only one that's holding on to all of these thought bubbles. And so I literally like and figuratively like swept them away
yeah.
and said, I'm going to drop the whole mom guilt. I have no time for mom guilt in my life. I'm going to be this kind of mom. I'm going to be the mom that I am meant to be. My kids love me for who I am. I don't need to be anything different. And so we always joke in my house about how I'm not the crafting mom. Like I banned
And I
glitter.
choose
I
that. And I choose
and I
that.
chose that and I am happy with who I am with
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And my kids just kind of laugh about it. It's funny. Yeah, mom doesn't craft. I'm like, nope, she doesn't. You guys want to craft? Great. Just please clean it up after you're done.
You
But
see the power. That's the power of choice. When we come inward, come back to ourselves as women and say, I'm going to choose something different. It's in that decision that the next steps unfold, the next feedback, the next information comes. But nothing
yeah,
happens until we make that decision. That's the same thing with finances in a way. And is like, I'm not tolerating, essentially, is what I heard. I'm not tolerating this mom guilt anymore. I'm over, it's done. We
yep.
step into it and we raise our standard.
And you could do the same with your money shame. I don't like the shrug your shoulders. Well, I've always been a spender. Well,
Yeah.
okay. So now let's take that habit and let's work on it. Let's figure out is there something you can do just incremental changes. You don't have to go and like change your whole personality. That's not what we're asking you to do. But when it comes to making more informed decisions, can there be a more informed decision on your spending habits? Absolutely, right? There's lots of things you can do to work on spending habits and how you can change those and morph around it and work through it. I was at a conference once and they brought in two therapists. They were marriage therapists, but they were specifically marriage and money therapists. So
Wow.
they would talk to couples who were struggling with money in their relationship. And you know what they taught me is that couples are not struggling with money. It is not money that's the problem. It is the underlying meaning of money to each couple that could be the problem. So,
Mm.
your saver, for example, their values are safety and security.
Yep.
Your spender, their
Yep.
values are fun and spontaneity.
Yeah.
So, that's the problem. There's a
Yeah.
lot of interesting things because I think we try to pin the problem on money when money is just a neutral
Mhm.
object. It has nothing like that. It's all of our emotions inside of us that
Yeah.
get tied up with money
Yeah.
that
To
we get.
use, as you said, it's a tool and it's, where how are we going to use the tool? Are we going to like is a hammer? Are we going to use it to build something? Or we're going to use it to break something? I love the values conversation around money. I have this exercise with my clients. If they're in partnership, I don't coach typically partners, but that they do a values assessment around money and realize what that money is meaning. And ideally, there's one or two or the quality of one or two that actually crosses over each other. There's a common ground to come to of, oh, this is where we intersect with our values around money and build on that as a success. But
Yeah.
I do know, my husband loves fun and entertainment, and it shows. We live in the Rocky Mountains, so it shows in his quiver of skis that he has.
Awesome.
And, and I'm I have my security and money and building wealth and building businesses is important to me. And it's like, how do I steward that money into that? And we both understand each other's values a lot more, which makes it easier when he's going out to buy a pair of skis or something or what.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So
Yeah.
we've talked a lot about money mindset, but I do want to touch on building businesses too. So tell me more about like the business that you have built or are still building and why you
Mm.
think that is really beneficial, especially for women. Even if you've never built a business before and you're in your 40s and 50s, why would you want to build one now?
Great question. As a woman, I think I can speak for most of us. We wear lots of hats. And what I love about building businesses is we get to wear lots of hats, whether we like it or not. And we can have our fingertips in lots of different things. And I love the creativity of it. That's what I love about business. I had always worked for someone, whether I was working down in corporate or when I eventually got out of bartending and started working for an accountant. But I loved seeing the different businesses that were being created. I do live in a small town. We're a microcosm of a bigger city. So I got really close in working through the accounting business that to see what people are creating and to bring that to life. And for myself, I want to know what my potential is. With that comes the edginess, comes sometimes the discomfort, sometimes the risk,
Oh.
all of that. And I think business and building businesses, whatever they are, whether it's something that's on the side that's happening, that was my first business. I had into a small interior design business, or it's something like when I went full into my coaching and consulting business and said, I'm going for it, decision made. I think they are great ways to build generational wealth, to create ways for others. I don't have kids, but I feel that the work that I do with other women helps bolster their families up to look at money differently, to look at different ways to do with money. Women having more, and that's just my goal is to have more women with more money in their hands to do more good things out in the world will support our global collective in general. It's pretty amazing there in Saudi Arabia, the banks have opened up to lots of ways that women can start businesses in Saudi Arabia, and it's really having an impact
Wow,
economic.
really?
Yeah,
I know
so
they've been repressed for a long time, but that's amazing.
exactly. So I think again, we have this innate power within us. And for me, building a business is the conduit to me finding my potential. We as women can do that in lots of ways, whether that is raising a family,
Mhm.
whether that is in relationship. I chose business as a way
Mhm.
to come into myself and then find my greater purpose. And in that,
Yeah.
intentionality is also the ripple effect of that, the generative effect of that.
Yep. For sure. And for me, I chose both. Seen as a young mama, I was facing you can't have a career and be a good mom. And that was a narrative that I had bought into in those early years. And in my mid 30s, I'm like just so restless. I feel like I have so much more I can give this world. Yeah, I'm all in on my kids 100%. I'm there at every tennis tournament, at every volleyball tournament, like I'm the assistant coach. Like I'm all in with my kids and I'm all in with my business and I'm all in with helping other women who want to achieve, who want to like grow businesses and to grow wealth and who want to take back and control their own financial destiny.
Mhm.
And it's pretty awesome. I love it. I love what I do, and it's not like I'm working all hours of the night either. Like, I'm very
Right,
intentional about my
right.
time, and I turn off at 4 p.m. and back on at 6 a.m., and it's really interesting what choice can do for us. If we make intentional choices, you can do what you wanna do.
I think it's like living by default versus living by choice. When
Yep,
we live by choice, time expands. Time expands when we are in our own power, when we are in our own choice. And so the invitation of, this conversation and conversations that you will continue to have and I'll continue to have is that women come into their choice in whatever ways, whether it's hearing somebody else talk about choice or and around finances. And I think finances are a great way, building a business, investing, saving, choosing how I want to steward this money that comes through me, big, little, however much comes through our hands and creates that confidence and power within to build a better world out there. So I am all for entrepreneurialism. I'm all for small business owners. We want to take into consideration calculated risk and understand that. I think women, we have a very strong sense of intuition that actually could be a very good catalyst for growing, building wealth.
yeah. Well, Christine, thank you. This has been such an invigorating conversation for me. I always just love to talk to other women about money and mindset and business. And I hope our listener today, like if you feel that little spark inside of you, like, I want to get more involved. I want to do something more. Christine, how can they connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you. My website's probably the easiest. It's www.christine, CHRASTINE, M as in money,
Yeah.
money Walsh, WALSH.com, ChristineMWalsh.com. So I think that's the easiest way. And if anyone has had something come up or wants to be witness in a share, please, please feel free to reach out through me to there because again, we need more women talking about money in ways that are accessible, in ways that are invigorating, in ways that allow us to release the old shackles of what money has meant in the past.
For sure, for sure. So please reach out to her. If you're a podcast listener, I'm telling you, this is your big opportunity. Whenever you hear a guest on a show, you should be reaching out to them because they are genuine in their offer to connect with you. And I know every time I'm a guest on someone else's show, I love it when people reach out to me. So please reach out to Christine. Also, please do me a favor, subscribe to the podcast and share it with another woman that you know and love who could use this type of financial advice and financial mindset help. We are just here to continue this conversation and get more women talking because we need money friends. Christine and I will be your money friends. We're here for you. So thanks so
Absolutely.
much for joining, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.